Welcome everyone who's just joined. I think we'll just give it 2 minutes for anybody else. There's still a few people coming into the waiting room. We'll just give it 2 minutes and then we'll kick off. Whilst we're waiting, maybe if people just want to put in the chat, just so you get used to the chat function, where you're joining from today, that would be cool. Okay, we're nearly at 10 past, so I think we'll get started. I know some of those who are contributing do need to leave a little bit earlier as well. So hope everybody's joined the right session. This is a session looking at creative methods to empower and build resilience. And yeah, welcome everyone. Soon you'll be watching a slideshow of photos featuring some of the activists, campaigners and creatives that we've worked with over the last 4 years of the programme, and some more recently over the last year during lockdown. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining firstly. Mads, soon you're going to see a slideshow of photos that kindly Mads Penfold took, who is also on the call but multitasking with various different things, so won't necessarily be contributing today. But I just kind of wanted to say, yeah, the last year obviously has been a bit of a roller coaster for all of us. But with that, we've been able to engage people in new ways. We've been able to form new friendships, new partnerships, and think of different ways in which we can engage people creatively to have their voices heard and ultimately work at tackling food poverty. So the photos about you're about to see, yeah, we're fortunate enough to work with Mads, who also took photos for our Church Action on Poverty calendar last year. Not everybody featured in the photos which you're about to see are able to attend today, but I just kind of wanted to give them all a massive shout out. And the photos certainly don't pay justice really to all of the alliances and partnerships and people that we've worked with over the last 4 years. Following on from seeing the photos, we've got about 5 people here who I'll introduce shortly, who are going to be speaking about their involvement in the program, either as an activist, a campaigner, a creative, somebody with lived experience. But in addition, and I know we've only got, we've got 49 minutes left. Again, that isn't going to give people's stories justice. Brodie Salmon, who's a filmmaker who will be the first speaker after the slideshow photos, is currently working on a series of short videos which Church Action and Poverty will release monthly over the next year, which will kind of delve deeper into some of those individual stories of the people that we've been so fortunate to work alongside. But now I'm going to put a link to the slideshow in the chat, and it's only about a minute long, so I'll let everybody watch the slideshow. I'll come back, I'll introduce all of the speakers, and then I said to Brodie he'd be off by 1:15, but Brodie, I'm going to have to keep you a little bit longer. But we'll go to Brodie and Kay first, who will talk about their involvement in the programme. So just give me, I've got about 1 million tabs open because I'm wanting to share as much of the stuff that we've, people I've been fortunate enough to work with over the last year have been involved in. But there should be a link now in the chat to a YouTube video which features Matty's photos of some of the people that we've worked with. So we'll be, if everybody just mutes themselves, goes to watch the video, and we'll be back here in about a minute's time. Thank you.
Hello.
So I've just watched the video. I hope everybody else had the opportunity to watch that as well. It is currently a private link, but we will share that later on today as well via our various different social media channels. Yeah, so today we're joined by, as I said, not everybody in the photos could necessarily join us, but we're joined by Brodie Salmon, who's going to speak first, Kayla Masterson. We're also joined by Monica, Penny. We're joined by Lisa, who unfortunately was a bit too far away to go and photograph. Lisa's down in Plymouth, but has done some amazing work alongside Food Power over the last 4 years. So I really am excited that you're able to be here and speak. And also Barbara as well, who is based in Cardiff, who's going to give some sort of final reflections before we move into a short Q&A. As I mentioned earlier, some of the speakers do need to leave early because they've got other kind of commitments. But handing over to you, Brodie, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your work with Food and Church Action on Poverty over the last 2 or 3 years, work prior to COVID, and some of the things you've been working on more recently. And then after that, I'll kind of bring Kayla in, who I know you've been working in partnership with more recently. So Brodie, over to you.
All right, cool. Yeah, so like Ben said, I think it might have even been like 3 to 4 years I've been working with Cap now, as a filmmaker. So my background isn't from Clitheroe. Obviously, I make films, and they tend to focus around like stories surrounding working class youth, although it's not specific. And what I tend to like to do is street cast a lot of the actors and actresses in my films, and that basically just means casting people who've never acted before, to bring a kind of lived experience element into it. The process then goes on, and what I'll tend to do with actors, but this is, by the way, this is whether it's for a documentary or short film, narrative film, whatever. We'll street cast and we'll workshop stories just to kind of ensure authenticity, and then we do as much prep as possible, because on the day we'll just kind of go in there and improvise whatever story it is we're telling. So them stories, in the past, I think 2 years ago, we did a film called Edgelands, which was a narrative film that we premiered at our local cinema in Blackburn, View. Same kind of thing. We street cast the entire cast of young people. We did a handful of workshops to kind of make sure we were getting stories that were as genuine as possible, really, around their lived experience of food poverty, and other people's across the country as well, that we were lucky enough to be put in touch with through Ben. Then over last summer, when everything went a bit pear-shaped, we were still lucky enough to make another film called The Same Boat, which some of you might have seen. I made that with, it was written by a lad called Ellis Howard from Liverpool, who he's got quite a big social media presence, got quite a big personality all around, actually. So he wrote that, and we worked together with an animator, Kayla Masterson, who's somewhere on the call, also starred in that. And then I'll get onto the Guardian Made in Britain series that we're doing at the minute. But I guess in terms of the creative process, to kind of, achieve some kind of resilience or whatever, even in the face of lockdowns, I think it's always sort of in the process rather than the product. It's the process that's inspiring and kind of brings, collaborates people. And yeah, the product might kind of embody that or whatever, but it's kind of it's the relationships that you build along the way, and the process of kind of chasing the truth of your story, whether it is eventually going to be a script or a documentary, whatever it might be. But yeah, in all honesty, like, I feel like one of the luckiest filmmakers around, really, in terms of the work we've been able to do with Cap, the people that we've met in this past year. And like I said, yeah, a lot of it is in the process. So yeah, I've Cap to be grateful for that. Aside from the narrative stuff, though, we've started working on a short documentary film for The Guardian as part of their Made in Britain series at the minute, which sound Maddie. I feel like that's like my mum clapping in crowd somewhere. Yeah, and Kayla has been part of that, as well as a couple of other people I don't think are on this call. Kayla, I know you're somewhere, but I can't find you. Is Kayla here?
If you want to unmute yourself, yes.
Hi.
Kayla is one of the Brody, thank you so much for that. And yeah, I can't thank you enough for the work that you've done with us over the last few years. But Kay, I just wondered, you are the only person joining who's involved in the Made in Britain project, but I just thought if you could share your sort of thoughts on your involvement. I know you've become involved more over the last year during lockdown, and I'm going to post while she's speaking a few of the kind of media articles you've featured in.
Yeah.
But, yeah, over to you, Kay.
So I just started, I think it was recently this year, I started working with Church Action on Poverty. I starred in the film, the short film The Same Boat with Brody, and that was really eye-opening to me, because obviously I saw these issues, but I didn't really see them arise really. So that led me to become more passionate about like my lived experiences, and I'm really grateful to like become a part of that. I also have done stuff with The Guardian, like I did a short barbecue on Mill Park. So we basically just sat out a little barbecue, like kids around the area came and like got free food basically. And that was really nice to see, seeing smiles on people's faces and stuff. I've also done a interview with the BBC just talking about loneliness throughout lockdown, and just like how students are dealing with it and like how they've just been like put to one side. I don't think people have seen like students as like one of the main problems. And yeah, I'm working with Simon Townsley, which was really fun and really creative, also talking about loneliness and how to deal with it. And yeah, that's it basically. That's what I've been doing.
The barbecue's got to be the highlight for me.
Yeah, that was really fun, wasn't it?
So Kayla hosted that barbecue, and I basically just filmed it, like she said. But that's kind of that. I'm really glad you mentioned that, because that's what I meant when I said it's kind of less about the end product film and like the process of making. Because just to be there in Millhill that day and to see like I wish you could all see like the crowds that like Kayla got, the social distance crowds, obviously. That we're all just, enjoying the sun and enjoying the barbecue. But
everyone was just smiling, weren't they? It was a really nice day. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it was just, authentic and bringing families and young people together, and the energy that brought and you brought, Kay, was amazing. I know you both need to leave in a moment, but in terms of just sort of your hopes for the future, in terms of future work with Church Action on Poverty, or what you'd like to do in your own kind of creative practice or campaigning. Brody, I'll go to you first, and then I'll go to Kayla, and then I'll let you both go to do work and other things that you need to do.
Well, I'll definitely continue street casting, continue telling grassroots sort of level stories, out of necessity more than anything. But I'd like to kind of really, I don't know, it's hard to say in short time, but I'd like to keep delving into like, the more underrepresented pockets of UK, I guess, really. So
Great, thanks.
That's what
Thanks, Brody. And I'm sure you will continue to do that. Kay, what about you?
I just want to carry on working and doing what I'm doing now, just because I've just started it recently and I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm enjoying meeting new people that have gone through the same experiences as like what I have. So that's really nice to see. I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing and just creating awareness around like loneliness and poverty and stuff like that. And I'm really enjoying it at the minute. So I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing.
Great, thanks. Kay and Brody, thank you so much. At the end of the call today, I'm going to put both Kay and Brody are both on Twitter. I will share everybody's kind of hashtags, and then you're able to follow them if that's of interest. But I think both Brody and Kay are shooting off now. Thanks again. But now I'm going to go to Monica, who is in Oxford, to tell us a little bit about what she's been doing over the last year. Over to you, Monica.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
So hi, so I'm Monica. So basically I've got lived experience of food poverty, and this is where my interest came into working with food poverty. But I also work for a charity called the Gatehouse Oxford, which is a homeless cafe which supplies homeless people with food, hot drinks, and one-to-one support if and when they need it. And we also help with housing and things like that. Over the last year, during lockdown, we had to really reevaluate how we worked as a cafe. So we had to shut for quite a while due to the guidelines, and we was like, well, where do we go from here? How do we get food to these guys? So then the food delivery was born, and at the moment we are currently at 70 people that we are delivering food parcels to a week, which we are literally at our maximum that we can do anymore for. But now we've gone back into the cafe as a takeaway service, so we are now giving out again food from the cafe, and hopefully the guidelines will allow us to go back, will hopefully soon allow us to go back inside. But, you know, working with the homeless and seeing how much food poverty is really out there, it's really alarming. And to the point that some of the food banks, you was only allowed to get food parcels 3 times a year. And then, you know, the community larders were starting to be brought into action. And then we've got groups that have come together to start food deliveries and handing out food to people that are in need. So yeah, so that's basically what we've been doing in Oxford.
That's great, Monica. And yeah, I know a lot of what you've been up to, but it's so great that you're able to share it with more people. I just wondered whether, and I know you're not feeling too well today, so you're probably going to leave a little bit earlier as well, but I just wondered whether you wanted to talk a little bit about kind of your experience of meeting Mads and being photographed, and how that kind of experience was for you, being able to tell your story in kind of through images. And I know there's some audio recordings that Brody's working on as well.
Yeah, so meeting Mads was really good, you know, because for anyone that sort of knew me, knew that I was quite a shy person. I used to really hate my photos being taken. I used to really hate sort of being anywhere around a camera. But, you know, so having them images sort of done, it was like, it sort of gave me more confidence in myself to not be so shy around the camera now, and being able to tell my story and being able to you know, let someone else listen to what my story was. It was, you know, amazing, because before I never used to really speak about my story, but it's over the last 2-3 years that I've been doing food, the good food Oxford, that my confidence has really started to come out a bit more, and not being so scared now to talk about my story.
Thanks, Monica. And I think that's kind of the same for many people as well, which is really good. If that's one thing that the Food Power Programme has managed to achieve in building people's confidence. And
can I just jump in there, Ben, and say a big thank you for Monica and everyone else that let me photograph them and meet them and allowed their stories to be captured by me. Like, that's a real privilege. And it means a lot that you were all so open and able and willing to share like something that's so personal with me, because I'm aware that it's all, you know, it's real stories, it's real lives. And yeah, I don't take it lightly that I have the opportunity to meet you and spend time with you. It's a real privilege. I just want to say thank you for that.
I even showed Mads the TikToks as well.
Monica got me onto TikToks. I hadn't done one before, but Monica inspired me to get on it and have confidence, and now I'm on TikTok. So thank you, Monica.
You're welcome. And so yeah, so I've got quite a big social media following on TikTok, and I've also got a big social media following on Facebook. So I try to use my platforms. I try to use my platforms to tell my story, which is really good, and that's given me more confidence. And you know, doing the Food Power, as well. I've met some amazing people and made some amazing friends from it.
Thanks, Monica, and yeah, and Mads as well. I think the number of people that you met and photographed who all said how lovely you were, and obviously dignity is such a important aspect of the work that we do. So yeah, it was important that we worked with a photographer and a creative who got that. So yeah, I can't thank you enough. And yeah, the photos are obviously amazing as well. Monica, thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna move to Penny now, and like I said, you're welcome to leave because I know you're not feeling that great, but hope you're feeling better soon. And thank you so much for sharing your story with everyone.
No problem. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Monica. Thank you. And now we're going to move to Penny. Penny's going to talk more specifically about her work with Imagination Lancaster, which is a partnership that we've sort of maintained throughout the Food Power programme. The main reason for that is that at 1 p.m. today, there's a documentary that a filmmaker called Aaron Dunleavy has made specifically about Penny's journey over the course of Food Power. So I thought it made sense for Penny to kind of talk more specifically about one project, which was a creative collaboration with people in Blackburn with Darwin, with Imagination Lancaster, who are based at Lancaster Uni. But I'd really encourage people as well to join at 1 p.m. and see Penny's little documentary, which is yeah, amazing. And Penny's become a really good friend as well. So yeah, over to you, Penny.
Good morning. It is absolutely cracking the pavement here with sunshine. So the part of my life with food poverty and food power it was engaging my brain, so making me think that, you know, can I do these things? And that's part of what Food Power have done, and it's also part of the things that Imagination Lancaster, they help, they'll feed you in, they'll nurture you, they'll make you realise that actually you can be creative, you do have a creative streak, you just didn't know how to use it before. So it's a case of, you know, you can do this, you know, we'll start off with little things, we'll start off with little poems, we'll start off with little words, and it just snowballs from there. So they ask you, you know, what do you think? We did it in collaboration with the kids at Blackburn with Darwin. So you've got a kid's perspective on things, but you've also got an older person's perspective on things. So where kids don't have a filter, you know, adults have a little bit more filter. So it's, you know, it's working out who can do what. You pull out the strengths of your people. You pull out the strengths of people that don't realise they can co-design. So you think, but then you turn around and say, well, but you did that. So it's another thing for bringing your confidence on. And I could never have dreamt in a million years that I would go on to do the things that I am doing now.
And yeah, Penny, thanks so much for that. In terms of, do you want to just talk a little bit, because I know you don't talk about this in the film that we're going to show at lunchtime, but a little bit about kind of that co-design process and how it built your confidence. And I know you with me went to the US to speak about food poverty over there, and we co-designed a tool to use there. Do you want to touch a little bit upon kind of, it isn't necessarily just about the tools and the creativity, but it's about what that process kind of involves as well?
I mean, yeah, it's designing something that you've never done before. It's part of a process. You sit down and you've got these ideas and you don't think that they're any good till they're actually written down on paper, and you think, wow, I did that. And it's so immense that how much of a boost it gives you. You know, we took what we call, you know, we're not supposed to, but we called it a hungry caterpillar. And it was just, it keeps, because I tend to go off on a tangent and things, it keeps me on track. But me and Ben and the guys at Lancaster University, we actually came up with that in 2 hours. You know, we literally just sat there and worked on it for 2 hours. And there it goes. That was the idea. It was born. And we have our little caterpillar that we take to places. But it keeps you on track, and it's so enjoyable to be able to co-design when you've never done anything like that. It uplifts you. It makes your life seem more worth than like worthless.
Penny, that was put so well, thank you. Yeah, I'll probably thank you a lot more at lunchtime after the screening of the film, but just, yeah, just massive thanks for your involvement over the course of the program. It's been inspiring. I have just shared another link. So I've shared a link in the chat to both the Leapfrog tools, which Penny was involved in co-designing, but I've also shared a Miro board, which with some young people from Blackburn with Darwin, even during lockdown and just the last few months, we've managed to co-create tools and engage people when things can't necessarily be done in a physical way. So yeah, and we really hope that kind of partnership continues with them as well as the people on this call. So now I'm going to hand over to Lisa, who is based down in Plymouth, and as I said, sadly doesn't feature in the photos because Plymouth was a bit far to get to.
Yeah.
But has been again another inspiration, and has just kind of taken creativity as a tool to engage those with lived experience down in Plymouth. So Lisa, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Ben. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Hope this no, it's the wrong one, sorry. Without too much faff, I was going to say, there we go. That's what I wanted to show you. So yeah, thank you, Ben, for giving us a place to show this work today. It's fantastic to be in such brilliant company. And I wanted to, sorry, I'm going to stop that for a second. Oh gosh, just bear with me, because I really do want to show you the images, because I think otherwise it's just me talking. Present, there you go.
No pressure at all, Lisa.
Can you see? No, I need to share my screen. Sorry. I thought I had this Zoom thing. No, that should work. Okay. Present.
Yeah, we can see that now.
Cool. Okay, so basically, I won't spend too long explaining in detail what we did, but I think just to echo some things that Brodie and Penny said, and reflecting back on everything we've done, it's really important to make spaces to be creative and to, you know, whether that's a physical space or an online space, and bringing people together, because, you know, when you make time and spaces for these processes, you know, positive things can happen. So we in Plymouth have been working to build a food and poverty alliance, but I'm a creative practitioner. My role was to run creative workshops to involve communities and individuals to see how this could be done. And we use one of the Leapfrog tools quite a bit in the workshops. And this was Collage Process. And it sounds very simple. It's something that kids do a lot, but, and I think maybe some people were like, well, why do we want to do that? Or they were doing it as adults for the first time. And some of the workshops we ran alongside children in the summer holidays, and that worked really well. But it's basically a process of selecting images, cutting them up, putting them together. And these were starting points for conversations. Some of them really specific conversations about experiences of, we have one about free school meals here, and how that impacts somebody's mental health and how they feel at school. And then the other image was reference to Victorian workhouse, which was, something that came up for somebody and their experience of food support and food aid. So I said to Ben, I'd talk a little bit about what we did during COVID and what we're doing now and how that sort of, tell a little bit about that story. So Ben invited us to do a workshop over the summer, and so what we thought we'd do was how to recreate a collage process online, that process of selecting images, found materials from all around the place, and then working to stick them together and have a conversation about that. And the results were kind of interesting. So I suppose the first thing to say was that we had people from all over the country, from different sort of places and different roles, bringing different experiences. It was very topical because at that time, food was a big issue for people in their work and in their life, but also in the media. So we reproduced the process, and from that we also we made little audio visual clips. We recorded the conversations, and it was the conversations really that I'll share the links in the chat afterwards. One interesting thing about working in the Zoom space, which I found really, really interesting, was the collaboration aspect, how people work together. So using Google Documents as a place to collaborate and for really diverse, different voices to sort of share their experiences. And if you listen to the audio visual clips, you'll see what I mean. We've chopped up different speakers and put them all together. We had a really wide range of sources. So people could take something from social media. We asked people to bring things with them about their experiences. So what you get is a really kind of like, kind of full space full of all these different voices and different things, which I really, really liked. I don't know if there's time to play a short clip, Ben, is there? Can I play one of the Vimeo clips?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay, all right then, I'll just play one.
Lisa, there is no audio. I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry.
You're welcome to start it again with the audio. We've got time. It's okay.
Oh, sorry, Ben. I'm really sorry. Okay, that's not okay, sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, I'll put it in the, you can watch it later. Sorry about that. But that clip was made. So one of the interesting things I found about that space, it actually joined me up with other people and artists in Plymouth that I hadn't really met and worked with before, that I've since. So I'll say a little bit about that at the end. So following on from that, we started working with a group of young carers in January, February this year, and I was able to take that learning, working online in a collaborative way and a flexible way with this young group. And we used to meet, well, we have been meeting for an hour every week online. And this is an example of, we've had some amazing conversations with this group of young people who are young carers. They do a lot of cooking themselves, and we have talked about their own experiences, but also sort of wider topical issues. And this is one of the things that we produced using the same process. And we're currently working on a zine, a bigger zine. We've been doing other things with them to share their ideas and their voices. And that's been really, really great working with that group. So moving on from that, we've recently, which has been amazing, been able to meet up for the first time in person a couple of weeks ago. And thinking about the different spaces we've been working on, I mean, the Zoom space has been amazing to have those really focused conversations. People have been able to participate in the way they want, like writing, talking, sending a picture, whatever. But it was amazing to meet them face to face. And these are photographs of a visit to a community space and food hub in Plymouth, which we really enjoyed. We just went and took photos and ate food. And yeah, just to come back to the idea of the importance of making those spaces and making the time for that. And yes, we're still working with that group and look forward to sharing something more from them very soon. So that wraps up the work really, Ben. I hope I will put the links in the chat to the video clips if anybody's interested in looking at them. But yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. And I think, as I said earlier, like with having so many of you join this call and it's only an hour, it doesn't give anybody's work the justice that it deserves. But yeah, I've shared the link to the Twitter in the chat as well. So feel free to follow and find out more there. I realise we've only got 13 minutes left. We've already heard some great stuff, but I just want to move lastly on to Mads is leaving, but Mads, thank you so much for the photos. As I said, they're amazing. I'm really excited to see what Brodie comes up with in collaboration with you for the short videos that we're going to be kind of launching from next month. So yeah, I'm really pleased that you could join for the majority of today's session. I'm going to move on to Barbara lastly, who's joining us from Cardiff. I've worked with Barbara over the last few years, who's doing her PhD looking at lived experience, who can perhaps mention a little bit about that, but I thought she'd be a good person to kind of give some sort of final reflections on. Barbara knows many of the people who spoke today, and has been really supportive alongside myself in facilitating creative activity. And we are soon to kind of co-release a blog together, exploring kind of what it means to engage people with lived experience during a pandemic. But yeah, over to you, Barbara.
Thanks, Ben. Well, I think you said it all. I just want to talk about the blog post because yes, I am still an academic, and after a couple of months when we were doing this creative work, which is quite new to me, to be honest, and I joined it just because I was hungry and I just wanted to do something with myself in lockdown. But then when the autumn came, I was like, actually, let's kind of, there's something interesting happening. Let's reflect on it, and let's kind of what we can learn and how we can kind of share the learning. So yes, as Ben said, we're kind of writing trying to co-write an article with reflections from other people, as well for COVID realities. And just kind of a couple of reflections from me on the whole kind of creative process and all the kind of varied things you heard today. I think what I enjoyed about it is that kind of through the series of encounters and meetings and workshops, I think we formed this flexible group of people who sometimes were participants, sometimes were co-facilitators, and we were kind of supporting each other, learning from each other. I think, as Penny said, there is a lot of care and support going. And I think it's fair to say that it's mutual. It's not just kind of some people nurturing some other people, but I think it kind of goes well together. as you build a community, because that's what we kind of think about in the blog post. How do you build community digitally, creatively, and with care? I mean, there's something to say also about sharing vulnerability, especially in the digital space and creative space, especially if you can see in people's rooms and families and other kind of pieces of their lives. And I personally still have a bit mixed feelings about that. In terms of, I think we still need to keep being mindful about inequalities and injustices that people are facing, and maybe more on that in the blog. But I think kind of my biggest reflection, and kind of echoing what all people said here, is that I think in kind of participation and activism, sometimes there's this tension between outputs and things developing more organically, and I think that's a lot of work. That's true also for a lot of charity work or academic work, right? You have funding bits, so you want to do stuff, you have your outputs. But I think creativity is less about the output and more about the process, as Brody and Kyla said. But I think this creative approaches are an interesting way to bridge the gap in terms of outputs and process, because you can have people joining one session, maybe doing collage, poetry, or co-designing stuff, or taking pictures, or just having a chat and listening. We had just people who came along and, you know, did engage in the one session. But also, you know, it might lead to something bigger, like a poetry collection or a film or collage on social media, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But regardless, there's always a sense of achievement and sense of inspiration, something that is energizing people. And I think, and something I would like to close on is about something that what Matt Sowerby said at some point, that it's like we need to keep thinking about how can we kind of channel emotions, anger, frustrations, but also positivity into something, and fossilizing it, keeping it so that it's something we can actually come back to. And, you know, it's not just something that happened. It's not like a meeting, which maybe somebody forgets, you know, in a couple of months, but it's more kind of like we can revisit it, and we can kind of, if we want to, use it in various ways. So that's everything from me. Thank you.
Barbara, that was great, and I don't think I could have put it any better myself, but just a couple of things to touch upon. I think that thing that you mentioned about vulnerability, and the last year has allowed us all to be more vulnerable online, which in many ways has been good. I think it has in some ways as well created more equality online. So some of the people that you've met today, and that's not forgetting that there are people who are digitally excluded, and I'm not generalizing, but some of the people that you've met today, whether there's somebody with lived experience, an activist, a creative campaigner, I see many of them as friends or almost colleagues. And I think when you're in this kind of digital space, it does allow for that, maybe differently than if you're in a room with somebody sat at the front of a table. So there's lots of learning there. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, I'm going to be publishing a toolkit in June, which will talk a lot about that with the support of Barbara and everybody else who's contributed today. I realise it is almost 5 to, and there is another session starting at 11, which is also linked to lived experience, which is kind of a chat with some of the people involved in the food vulnerability during COVID session. So I know some of you might be leaving for that. I'm just going to quickly shout out to some more events that are coming up. So at lunchtime today, as mentioned earlier, Penny's kind of online premiere of her film, shot by Aaron Dunleavy up in Newcastle, shows at 1 o'clock. And then at 5:15 tonight, we have a cabaret performance, which me and Ellis have put together. It's about 20 minutes long, but it's some of specifically people that we've met over the last year and who've been involved in some of the LGBT sessions that we've done, looking at how that community's been impacted by poverty, some of the work that we've done with young people and other people that we've been able to bring together online. I think from kind of a Church Action on Poverty perspective, this last year has really allowed for more collaboration between different programs as well. So people like Food Power coming together with self-reliant groups or other partnerships, and I think that's really exciting, certainly given that the program is soon coming to an end, and how we sustain some of the activism and stay close and working in partnership with some of the wonderful people that you've been able to meet today. We've got 4 minutes left. If anybody, there might be time for a couple of questions. If anybody does have a question for, I think we've got Penny and Lisa left on the line. Otherwise, feel free just to kind of post your comments in the chat box, and it'll be great to be able to share those with people who had to leave the call early. And I'm also aware that, yeah, the next session is also on this same Zoom account. So I am going to have to leave very promptly. Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone so much for joining. People who've been so supportive of the work over the last 4 years, and really excited for what we can share over the next couple of months and coming year, in terms of the toolkit next month and the upcoming videos, which will delve deeper into those people's stories that you've met today, but also people like Robin and Ellis who weren't able to make today's call. But yeah, thank you. Stay creative and enjoy the rest of the festival. Bye everyone. Thank you.